My dear brothers and sisters, we thank our God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the God who is love, for gathering us as a family of faith.
In a surprising move that has stunned the Catholic community, Cardinal Luis Tagle has made an announcement that could significantly impact the future of the Church. At a recent press conference, Tagle, known for his calm and spiritual nature, has revealed plans that exceed everyone's expectations. With Pope Francis's reign nearing its end, the discussion surrounding the next pontiff has become increasingly urgent. Tagle's unexpected involvement in this conversation has left many speculating about his potential succession as the leader of the Church. The emergence of younger cardinals like Cardinal Tagle has undeniable influence on the future. His leadership in Asia and growing global influence make him a key figure in discussions about modernization, inclusivity, and social justice within the Church. However, this announcement also raises questions about the direction the Vatican will take in the coming years. Tagle has consistently advocated for a more accessible and compassionate Church, but it remains to be seen how this vision will align with the traditionalists who still hold power in the Vatican. With Tagle's name in the spotlight, speculation is mounting about the possibility of him becoming the next pope. The stakes for the Church's future have never been higher, and Tagle's words will likely be remembered as a significant turning point in history. The key question is whether Cardinal Luis Tagle will rise to the occasion, or if he will become just another name on the long list of potential successors to the papacy. Behind the closed doors of the Vatican, a quiet but intense power struggle has been brewing about the future direction of the Catholic Church. Tagle, often referred to as Asia's Pope, has been seen as a progressive force within the Church, emphasizing social justice, compassion for the marginalized, and environmental stewardship, which has earned him admiration worldwide. Cardinal Tagle's rise to prominence has faced resistance from certain factions within the Vatican who fear his reforms could significantly impact Catholicism. The announcement today may have been a strategic move to assert his claim to the papacy, but it has also revealed the growing divide between the reformers and the traditionalists in the Church. Some view Cardinal Tagle's rise as a necessary step to revitalize the Church, while others are deeply concerned about the potential impact of his leadership on the long-standing traditions that have held the Vatican together for centuries. It remains to be seen whether Cardinal Tagle can unite the Church, or if his progressive vision will further divide it as the power struggle within the Vatican continues to unfold. The ongoing tension within the Catholic Church is palpable as it navigates a crucial crossroads. Some want to follow Pope Francis's more inclusive and progressive approach, while others cling to the traditional views that have long underpinned the faith. The actions of figures like Cardinal Luis Tagle will be closely scrutinized as the Church navigates these turbulent waters. Whether Tagle will emerge as the unifying leader the Church needs, or if his ambition will lead to further division and unrest within the Vatican remains to be seen. Furthermore, the health concerns surrounding the aging Pope Francis have become increasingly pressing. Whispers of his declining health and frequent hospital visits have fueled speculation about the urgency of the question of succession. Many now wonder if Cardinal Tagle, one of the Pope's most trusted advisors, will be called upon to take the reins of the Catholic Church. The Pope's capabilities go beyond just leadership. He also has a profound grasp of the issues confronting the Church in the modern era. Cardinal Tagle's focus on engaging younger generations, tackling poverty and inequality, and promoting environmental care aligns with many of the priorities championed by Pope Francis. However, with the growing concerns about the Pope's health, there are questions about Tagle's ability to lead the Church during this pivotal moment. While Tagle's leadership could bring a fresh perspective to the Vatican, the weight and responsibility of the papacy could make the transition more complicated than expected. The possibility of Tagle's appointment signaling the beginning of a new era for the Catholic Church, where modernity and tradition find a delicate balance, remains uncertain. The complexities of church politics and the Pope's health may prevent this from happening in the near future. Cardinal Tagle's appointment as the next pope could bring much-needed reforms to the Catholic Church, but it also raises concerns among those who fear that his progressive approach could undermine the Church's core beliefs. While he represents the hopes of many Catholics who want a compassionate and visionary leader, the challenges facing the Church are immense, from addressing the clergy abuse crisis to bridging the growing divisions between the global North and South. As the Vatican faces increasing pressure to modernize, the world is wondering whether Cardinal Tagle has the ability to unite unite the church and ensure its continued relevance in a rapidly changing world. The appointment of Cardinal Luis Tagle as the next pope would mark a significant change in the church's leadership. However, this could also create a divide between the reformers and traditionalists as both sides compete for control over the church's future. It remains to be seen if Tagle will be able to navigate these tensions and guide the church through its most challenging period in centuries, or if his leadership will be short-lived, overshadowed by internal struggles and resistance from conservative factions within the Vatican. If Cardinal Tagle takes over the papacy, the stakes will be extremely high. The decision about the next pope will not only be about one person's leadership, but also the future of the Catholic Church. If Tagle becomes the next pope, it will signal a shift towards a more inclusive and progressive church, potentially with a renewed focus on social justice, environmental stewardship, and outreach to marginalized communities. The future of the church under Tagle's reign remains uncertain. The election of Cardinal Tagle as pope would mark a significant departure from the past. His focus on engaging younger generations and addressing global issues like poverty and climate change would reshape the church's priorities. Tagle has emphasized the need for the church to be a field hospital that heals the wounds of society and offers compassion to all. If he becomes pope, the Vatican is expected to take a more outward-facing and action-oriented approach, rather than being solely focused on tradition. However, these reforms may risk alienating the conservative factions of the church who view such changes as a threat to Catholic traditions. The future impact of Tagle's leadership remains uncertain, but his vision for a more inclusive church could either transform the Vatican or lead to internal division, as the Catholic Church grapples with declining membership worldwide. Cardinal Luis Tagle's vision for a more inclusive church offers a refreshing perspective. He emphasizes addressing the needs of marginalized groups, promoting social justice, and creating a welcoming environment for people from diverse backgrounds. This approach has resonated with many, but there are questions about whether the Vatican is ready for such changes. Can a more inclusive church help rebuild the trust and relevance that the Catholic faith has lost in recent years? Cardinal Tagle's message is clear. The church should be a place for all people, not just those who fit within a narrow set of expectations. His inclusive approach calls for greater representation of women, stronger interfaith dialogue, and a commitment to tackling global challenges. However, any major shift will face resistance, and the success of Cardinal Tagle's vision depends on his ability to bridge the gap between reformers and traditionalists. The outcome of this debate could shape the future of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church's future rests on Cardinal Tagle's leadership, as he has the potential to revive the Church's global influence. With Pope Francis's papacy nearing its end, many see Tagle as a leader who can uphold the values of inclusivity, compassion, and social justice. Crucial as the Church faces challenges from growing secularism in the West and rapidly expanding Catholic communities in the global South. Tagle's ability to connect with people from diverse backgrounds, particularly in Asia, could be the key to revitalizing the Church's relevance in the modern world. However, his success depends on his ability to unite the various factions within the Vatican, as a divided Church could undermine his leadership. The individual's compassionate approach to social justice issues, particularly those affecting the disadvantaged, resonates strongly with many Catholics worldwide. If they become the Pope, their focus on global challenges like climate change, migration, and inequality would likely captivate a broader audience, including younger generations who feel disconnected from the Church's traditional practices. However, as the Catholic Church seeks to expand its influence in the global South, there are concerns about how their leadership would play out on the global stage. Their progressive approach could either strengthen the Church's ties with the growing Catholic communities in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, or cause friction with traditionalists in Europe and North America who may perceive their leadership as too modern. The potential papacy of Cardinal Tagle has ignited discussions about the future direction of the Catholic Church. Known for his progressive views on social justice, environmental issues, and inclusivity, Tagle has become a symbol of change within the Church. However, as the Vatican prepares for the inevitable transition of power, the question remains whether Tagle's vision will lead to a reformed papacy that can guide the Church into the future, or if it will alienate those who hold on to traditional values. The challenges ahead for Tagle are immense, as Pope Francis has shown that leading the Catholic Church in the modern world requires a delicate balance between preserving the Church's long-standing traditions and embracing necessary changes. Cardinal Tagle's approach to addressing the Church's challenges will likely involve pushing for significant reforms, particularly in the Church's church's relationship with the modern world. His leadership could steer the church to focus more on social issues like poverty, climate change, and inequality, which have become central concerns for many Catholics globally. However, there is a fear that too much change could undermine the church's core values. The future of the papacy may depend on whether Cardinal Tagle can successfully guide the church through this transformative period without alienating those who prefer a more traditional approach. If he can find the right balance between progress and preservation, his papacy could be a landmark in the church's history, as the global church faces a critical juncture where it must evolve to maintain its relevance. Cardinal Tagle, with his progressive ideas and global appeal, stands at the center of a significant shift in the Catholic Church. His leadership could bring much-needed reforms or deepen the divides between traditional factions and those pushing for change. This crossroads presents a critical juncture for the global church, and Tagle's leadership could shape its future. The Catholic community is experiencing rapid changes, particularly in the global south, where countries like the Philippines, Tagle's home, are seeing massive growth in Catholic populations, with a rising youth demographic and an increasingly vocal call for social justice. The church must respond to these changes to remain relevant and trusted. Tagle's strong ties to Asia and his focus on inclusive leadership uniquely position him to guide the church through these turbulent times. However, the road ahead is not without challenges. Tagle will have to navigate the complex dynamics of the Vatican, where conservative factions still hold significant sway as the church faces an unprecedented demand for modernization. Whether Tagle's leadership will inspire unity or expose deeper rifts remains to be seen. Cardinal Tagle's ability to harmonize the needs of the global Catholic community with the church's traditional structures will determine the success of his potential papacy. As the Catholic Church confronts its most significant challenges in centuries, Tagle's possible ascendancy to the papacy could signal the start of a new era. His leadership would represent a significant shift in how the Vatican approaches global issues, particularly in regions where Catholicism is rapidly growing. With a focus on inclusivity, social justice, and environmental responsibility, Tagle's potential papacy could signify a more progressive and dynamic direction for the Church, embracing change while upholding its core teachings. This could have profound implications for the future of the church, especially in the global south, where the number of Catholics in countries like the Philippines, Nigeria, and Brazil is on the rise. The church's leadership needs to reflect the diverse needs of its followers, and Cardinal Tagle's pastoral-focused leadership style could be instrumental in achieving this. Cardinal Tagle's vision for the church, which emphasizes social justice and addressing global issues, could lead to greater representation for Catholics in the global south. However, his leadership may be seen as too radical by traditionalists within the Vatican, while progressives may demand even more reform. Cardinal Tagle's ability to navigate these tensions and maintain the church's unity will be critical as the Vatican prepares for this historic transition. The conflict within the Catholic Church has intensified in recent years, with a fierce ideological battle raging between the supporters of Cardinal Tagle's vision for a more modern and inclusive church and the traditionalists who are steadfastly committed to preserving the long-standing teachings and customs of Catholicism. This is not merely a fight about the selection of the next pope, but a fundamental clash over the very essence of the church, its role in the contemporary world, and its ability to adapt to the evolving needs and challenges of an increasingly complex global society. The reformers, led by the charismatic and progressive-minded Cardinal Tagle, argue passionately that the Catholic Church must embrace a renewed sense of purpose and relevance, transforming itself into a beacon of compassion, social justice, and moral leadership. They contend that the Church's mission should no longer be solely focused on preserving traditional doctrines and practices, but rather on actively engaging with the world's most pressing issues, from alleviating poverty and addressing the devastating impacts of climate change to championing the rights and dignity of marginalized communities, including migrants and refugees. Tagle and his supporters believe that by adopting a more inclusive and socially conscious approach, the Church can recapture the hearts and minds of younger generations, who have increasingly become disillusioned with institutions that appear out of touch or unwilling to confront the urgent challenges of our time. They envision a church that is not merely a guardian of timeless dogma, but a dynamic and transformative force, capable of inspiring and empowering the faithful to work towards a more just, equitable, and sustainable future for all. In contrast, the traditionalists, who wield significant influence within the church's hierarchy, vehemently oppose these proposed reforms, viewing them as a dangerous departure from the sacred teachings and time-honored customs that have defined Catholicism for centuries. They argue that any deviation deviation from the established theological and liturgical foundations of the church would undermine its fundamental identity and authority, potentially leading to a fragmentation of the faithful and a loss of the church's moral credibility. As this ideological battle continues to unfold, the future of the Catholic Church hangs in the balance. The outcome of this conflict will not only determine the church's leadership and direction in the coming years, but also its ability to remain relevant and responsive to the evolving needs and aspirations of its global community of believers. The Catholic Church, a centuries-old institution, is currently grappling with a fundamental divide within its ranks. On one side, there are those who advocate for reform, seeking to address the pressing issues and human suffering that afflict the modern world. They believe that the church must adapt and evolve to remain relevant and meaningful in the lives of the faithful. These reformists argue that an emphasis on social justice, inclusivity, and compassion is not only necessary, but also aligned with the church's core mission of serving the common good and uplifting the marginalized. On the other hand, there is a powerful faction within the Vatican, the traditionalists, who view such changes with deep skepticism and even alarm. For them, the preservation of the church's core doctrines, liturgy, and moral teachings on marriage, sexuality, and family are of paramount importance. They fear that any deviation from these long-held beliefs and practices would dilute the church's divine mandate and undermine its very identity. Traditionalists see the call for reform as a threat to the stability and continuity that the church is meant to provide in an ever-changing world. This clash of ideologies reflects the broader societal tensions that the Catholic Church and other venerable institutions are grappling with. As the world rapidly evolves, driven by technological advancements, shifting cultural norms, and emerging social and political realities, these institutions are compelled to navigate the delicate balance between remaining true to their foundational principles and adapting to the needs and expectations of a rapidly changing society. The Catholic Church, in particular, finds itself at a critical juncture where it must decide whether to forge a path that embraces necessary reforms and remains a dynamic, relevant force for good, or to stubbornly cling to tradition, risking its ability to effectively guide the faithful and serve as a moral compass in an increasingly complex and diverse world. The Catholic Church, as one of the oldest and most influential religious institutions in the world, faces a formidable challenge in its quest to modernize and adapt to the rapidly changing societal landscape while simultaneously preserving its sacred identity and time-honored traditions. This delicate balance between innovation and tradition has become the central focus of the Church's ongoing internal discourse, with Cardinal Luis Tagle's leadership playing a pivotal role in navigating this complex and often contentious terrain. As the Church grapples with the demands of the modern world, its ability to effectively adapt and respond to the evolving needs and expectations of its flock will be rigorously tested. The outcome of this internal struggle, which pits the forces of progress and modernity against the deeply rooted principles and practices that have defined the Church for centuries, will likely have far-reaching implications for generations to come. Should Cardinal Tagle be elected as the next pope, he will be tasked with the daunting challenge of striking a delicate balance between his progressive vision for the Church and the profound respect for tradition that is so intrinsic to the institution's core identity. This will require a deft touch, as well as a deep understanding of the nuances and complexities that underpin the Church's long and storied history. At the same time, the more traditionalist elements within the Church will be forced to confront the reality that the world around them is changing at an increasingly rapid pace, and that their steadfast commitment to preserving the Church's teachings and practices may need to be reconciled with the changing needs and expectations of the faithful. This tension between the forces of progress and tradition will undoubtedly define the next chapter in the Church's history, and whether a satisfactory compromise can be reached will be a critical factor in determining its future trajectory. The stakes are high, as the Catholic Church's ability to adapt and evolve while maintaining its spiritual and moral authority will have profound implications not only for its own adherents, but for the global community as a whole. The path forward is fraught with challenges, but the Church's willingness to embrace change and innovation while honoring its rich heritage and enduring values will be the key to its continued relevance and influence in the years and decades decades to come. The Catholic Church, one of the oldest and most influential institutions in the world, now stands at the threshold of a new era, facing a rapidly changing global landscape. The question at the forefront of many believers and observers' minds is whether Cardinal Luis Tagle, the Filipino prelate known for his charismatic leadership and progressive approach, will guide the Church into the uncharted territory of the 21st century. The Catholic Church has an unparalleled history spanning centuries, with deep roots and cherished traditions and doctrines that have shaped the faith of billions. However, the modern world is evolving at a breakneck pace, presenting the Church with a myriad of challenges that threaten to undermine its relevance in an increasingly secular society. The role of the next Pope, the spiritual and administrative leader of the global Catholic community, will be pivotal in determining whether the Church can successfully navigate these turbulent waters and maintain its influential position in the world. Cardinal Tagle, with his broad international appeal, forward-thinking outlook, and unwavering dedication to the principles of social justice, has emerged as a potential answer to the Church's modern dilemmas. His ability to connect with the faithful across cultural and geographical boundaries, coupled with his progressive approach to addressing issues such as poverty, inequality, and environmental stewardship, has earned him widespread admiration both within and outside the Church. Yet Cardinal Tagle's ascension to the papacy would not be without its challenges. He would likely face significant resistance from more traditional factions within the Vatican, who fear that the loss of the Church's cherished identity and rigid adherence to long-standing doctrines could undermine its spiritual authority and erode the loyalty of its devout followers. The tension between the need for modernization and the desire to preserve the timeless essence of Catholicism would undoubtedly shape the debates and decisions that would define the future of the Church. Ultimately, the fate of the Catholic Church is inextricably linked to the direction its leadership will choose to take. Cardinal Tagle's potential rise to the papacy represents a new chapter in the Church's history, where global perspectives and a willingness to embrace change will play a crucial role in determining whether the institution can maintain its relevance and influence in an ever-evolving world. The importance of social and environmental issues in the current leadership of the Catholic Church. Cardinal Tagle from the Philippines is seen as a potential bridge between the Church's traditional European base and the growing faith communities in the global south. However, the pressure on Cardinal Tagle to guide the Church towards a more inclusive future is significant, as Pope Francis has demonstrated that the role of the Pope is not just about preserving tradition, but also leading the Church through challenging times. Pope Francis's papacy has been characterized by a commitment to inclusivity, mercy, and addressing social concerns, although his approach has been met with controversy from some traditionalists. The upcoming conclave will be a crucial moment in determining the future direction of the Church. Cardinal Tagle, a respected and influential figure within the Catholic Church, has been entrusted with the weighty responsibility of steering the Church towards a new era. As the successor to the more traditional leadership, Tagle finds himself at the crossroads of a profound transformation, tasked with reconciling the Church's deeply rooted teachings with the progressive vision championed by the current Pope Francis. Tagle's leadership will be pivotal in determining the future trajectory of the Catholic Church, a revered institution that has long stood as a bastion of tradition and unwavering faith. However, the modern world presents new challenges and expectations, and Tagle must skillfully navigate this delicate balance, uniting the diverse factions within the Church while pushing forward with necessary reforms. On one hand, Tagle must appease the conservative elements within the Church, those who cling steadfastly to the time-honored doctrines and practices that have defined Catholicism for centuries. These traditionalists view any deviation from the established path as a threat to the very essence of their faith, and Tagle must tread carefully lest he risk alienating this influential and vocal faction. On the other hand, Tagle must also heed the clarion call for change championed by the progressive voices, led by the visionary Pope Francis. This new generation of believers seeks a Church that is more inclusive, responsive to social justice issues, and attuned to the pressing global crises that confront humanity. Tagle's ability to connect with younger congregants, to champion causes that address inequality, poverty, and environmental stewardship could signal a transformative shift in the Church's direction. The challenge Tagle faces is to strike a delicate balance, to forge a path that seamlessly integrates the Church's time-honored traditions with a more progressive, inclusive, and engaged vision. This is no easy task, as the Church must navigate the treacherous waters of evolution while steadfastly preserving its core values and spiritual identity. Tagle's leadership will be closely watched, both within the Church and by the broader global community. His success in uniting the church, in pushing forward with meaningful reforms, and in resonating with the younger generations could pave the way for a more dynamic, responsive, and relevant Catholic Church in the 21st century. However, the broader acceptance of Tagle's progressive stance remains to be seen, as the Church grapples with the inherent tension between adapting to the times and safeguarding its sacred foundations. The impending election of a new pope holds immense significance for the Catholic Church and the global community it serves. Cardinal Tagle, a respected and influential figure within the Church, emerges as a leading contender for the papacy. His potential ascension to the highest ecclesiastical office could steer the Church towards a transformative path, one that addresses the myriad challenges of the 21st century, while steadfastly upholding the timeless principles of the gospel. The Church stands at a critical juncture, facing a confluence of social, cultural, and theological currents that demand a nuanced and visionary leadership. Cardinal Tagle, with his renowned compassion, global perspective, and innovative approach to ministry, is poised to be the catalyst for this pivotal transition. His elevation to the papacy could usher in an era of unprecedented inclusivity, where the marginalized and the disenfranchised find a voice within the Church's corridors of power. Moreover, Tagle's leadership could also reinvigorate the Church's commitment to global responsibility, positioning it as a beacon of hope and a champion of social justice in an increasingly interconnected world. His ability to navigate the delicate balance between reform and tradition will be crucial in determining the Church's role and relevance in the decades to come. Yet, the path ahead is not without its challenges. The tension between progressive ideals and entrenched traditionalism within the Church could threaten to tear apart the very fabric of the institution, should Tagle's vision for change encounter fierce resistance. The future of the Catholic Church, with its rich history and global influence, hangs in the balance, and the outcome of this pivotal moment will reverberate through the lives of millions of faithful worldwide. As the possibility of Tagle's ascension to the papacy draws closer, the Church stands at a crossroads, its trajectory poised to be forever altered. The world watches with bated breath, eager to see if Cardinal Tagle can masterfully navigate the complexities of modern leadership and steer the Church towards a future of renewed purpose, compassion, and global responsibility. A future that honors the enduring principles of the gospel while addressing the evolving needs of a rapidly changing world. Make sure to show your support by liking, commenting, and subscribing to stay updated as this story continues to unfold.